Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform. Today's presentation is a little bit different. We recently had the honor of having John Paul Rice, a Hollywood producer, on our Insider Insight show, which is part of our subscription service. The subscribers on our platform thought that this interview was so important and provided information that you're not going to get from any other source. They asked me to make it available on the YouTube platform, and I gladly am doing that. If it were not for our subscribers, this YouTube channel would not exist. Either would our radio show Operation Freedom, which airs every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, or our platform, DaveJanda.com. I hope you'll consider to be a member of our subscription family and our Freedom family so that we can continue to produce this type of content and then provide it to others. John Paul Rice is a unique individual in the Hollywood community. He's taken on the issue of human trafficking, of child exploitation, of the pedophile networks. His movie, A Child's Voice, can easily be obtained through Amazon and a number of other sources. The bottom line is that John Paul Rice is blazing a trail like no other in Hollywood. And he is actually gaining allies. He is fighting hand-to-hand combat, if you will, at ground zero. Ground zero being Hollywood as it relates to human trafficking and the pedophile networks. I now turn our presentation over to John Paul Rice and our interview we did on our Insider Insight show. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll join us every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern, on our radio show. It's live. It's free. You can stream it live at DaveJanda.com for free. In addition, I hope you'll become a part of our Freedom family at DaveJanda.com. Now on to John Paul Rice. Thanks for your time today. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our Insider Insight show. I am honored to have back with me someone I consider a very dear friend and someone who I believe is one of the most courageous people in, of all places, Hollywood. He has taken on the syndicate, as has his partner, Edgar Bravo, who have produced an incredible movie that has gotten huge positive reviews, has made an enormous positive difference on society by opening millions of people's minds and eyes to what's really going on in the world. An issue that many people do not want to face, but through their movie and their presentations, they have broken that barrier of people not wanting to consider the issue of human trafficking, of pedophilia, of the Satanism, not only the human trafficking, but the murder of these children. It's an incredible movie. It's called A Child's Voice. And let me give you a little background on John Paul Rice. John Paul attended Georgia State University to pursue a degree in business. Thank goodness he did not. And while at college, John Paul was given the opportunity to work in Jerry Bruckheimer's blockbuster film, Remember the Titans, as he was a Titan football player actually in the movie. And John Paul enjoyed the experience and turned his focus toward the cinematography industry and film. He worked in production on a handful of low-budget independent films before moving to Los Angeles. In 2001, John landed a position at the Los Angeles division of the German distribution company Senator International, which later became Mandate Pictures, led by industry veteran Joseph Drake. Under Mr. Drake's mentoring, John developed an interest in producing independent feature films. In 2008, John Paul formed No Restrictions Entertainment with filmmaker Edgar Michael Bravo, and the duo has produced a significant number of films. I believe it's now at least 6, and I know they're working on a number of other different projects. The one I want to focus on today is A Child's Voice, and all of their work. Their films all deal with challenging social issues while telling an entertaining and an original narrative story. A story that just doesn't end when you leave the movie theater. The stories they tell stay with you for life and motivate you to address these issues that they bring up. They took on the third rail in Hollywood. Human trafficking, pedophilia, and all the other horrible, evil entities that are associated with that. Many people have said that if you would try to produce a movie of this nature, that, it would not be successful. That you would put your career in not just reverse, but end it. Edgar and John Paul didn't buy into that. They had the courage to step forward for these millions, and I mean millions, of children that are involved in the sex trade, human trafficking, pedophile networks, and the like. It is my honor to welcome my friend John Paul Rice. John Paul, welcome back to the Insider Insight Show.
Dave, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, John Paul, educate our listeners on the movie A Child's Voice and take us from release to where we are today with the movie.
Yeah. So A Child's Voice was basically the genesis of research that we did for years, and really since the election of Trump, on human trafficking of children. It led us down a path. People like you in the alternative media and others who refused to shut up about this issue when it was considered a conspiracy. And quite the opposite has been proven true today with today's current events. But we listened to people like Ronald Bernard and others who came forward and gave powerful testimony, which then led us to go into the Franklin scandal and go back in time and look at all of what has occurred over the last several decades in high levels of power, from the military into private contractors, into the government, into our industries and institutions, and how all of this was being used as a way to blackmail people and also feed the appetite of very sick, demented individuals with no repercussions. And these are people that we found were running our institutions at the highest levels of government, in the banking system, and those that are not names. And so we wanted to make a movie that took two outsiders, a young boy, a heroin addict who's homeless, and a girl who is fighting with her physically abusive boyfriend, who are trying to both run away. And they are runaways. They escape. But the story and the connection of this movie is really felt in a supernatural sense. We wanted to bring a narrative, dramatic, and genre-type element to this film so that it could introduce people to human trafficking of children, introduce people to the satanic ritual abuse that's being done to some of these kids by very powerful people, and give you enough disclosure in the film that you could then go and do your own research for yourself. And I deliberately, Edgar and I crafted this story as a message of love for the children, but that love comes from within you. Love turns to courage when you stand up for the people that you love in the face of such horror, in the face of such death. And the ultimate, I think, message of the film was to communicate a love and a protection that once you know the truth about this issue, there is no turning away from it. Because if we turn away from it because it's so horrible, we are allowing monsters to destroy the lives of kids all over the world. Either will be murdered by the time they're 7, the odds are very high, or they will grow up living a traumatized life for the rest of their life, having all the love and humanity stripped out of them, having their childhood robbed of them. And we will be paying for that for such a very long time. And we've seen the effects of it. So we wanted to do a movie that would bring people in a way that's on a creative level, but give them real truth about things that are actually happening in the world, and then allow them to make up their minds as to what they want to do about it, both personally or in their community. And I'm very proud of what we did with that movie.
You should be.
Proud of the reactions that we've gotten, the overwhelming reactions by doing shows like yours and others, where more people watch the film than reading a film review. And they're more engaged, and they're more educated and more invigorated than ever before to wanting to see not only justice done, but wanting to expand their awareness of things beyond a world that they perceive in their own life or what they've been told is the way the world is. And I think with the Geoffrey Epstein arrest, for all of those people for many years who were speaking out about this, and it was pushed to the fringes of conspiracy, all of you now have become connecting points to so many millions of people who have now public confirmation that it is in fact real. And that is huge. That is significant, because there's no walking that back.
John Paul, if I said to you 10 years ago, and I showed you, let's say 10 years ago, what you just said about human trafficking, the pedophile networks, the satanic abuses of these children, the murder of these children, if I showed that clip of you just speaking about that to John Paul Rice 10 years younger, would you have believed that would be you in 10 years saying that?
Not at all. I had no clue. And even 3 years ago, or even a couple of years before I started this investigation, which was just organic, I would have no clue about any of this. I've seen, the NBC News on the Hillary Clinton State Department and pedophile with the ambassador and all that, and the Secret Service detail. Those are the little things that people see, and then they quickly go away. But nobody could conceive, me included, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, that there was this vast network of people in a blackmailing operation, brownstone operation, that has ties to criminal histories of mafia and mob going back 100 years in this country and more. And then the integration with the politicians, the integration with the institutions, and how the Bronfman family came in, how they're all tied to NXIVM, but that this all started over 100 years ago and has morphed into where we are today with technology. I would think that is like outside crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, because there was no internet. There was no connecting points to all of this. It was simply people out on the internet talking about these things, and nobody could really verify them. You just have to sort of speculate on or take a leap of faith of. And then you see what the mainstream did with calling everyone a conspiracy theorist. Now we have proof. We have physical proof in the eye of the public today. And that changes everything. But I would never have believed 10 years ago. Not at all. I would have thought that guy is a nut job.
And a couple, 3 years ago, what opened your eyes where you said, whoa, did I miss this? I missed this whole boat before. Was there an event? Was there something that you came across that made you go, whoa, well, wait, this is really serious stuff, and I got to investigate this further?
Yeah, it was first Robert David Steele. I don't remember what interview it was, but it was right after the beginning of 2017. I remember him saying that pedophilia is the Achilles heel of all of these people. And I was shocked. But there was a part of me that knew it was also true. There was something in there that said, that's possible. That's very possible. Given what I know here in Hollywood, right. Given what I know, I've been around for 20 years and have seen in terms of the attitudes of people, doesn't necessarily mean that they would do that, but that they would be okay with it. Mm-hmm. That they would be passive about it.
And when you started on this project, were you told, or Edgar told, hey guys, don't do this. This is suicide for you guys in the movie industry?
Yeah, no, there were a couple of people that just said, I don't know why you guys want to do this. Like, mm-hmm. You're touching on a conspiracy. I even had people at the premiere a year ago, they'd never heard about this, and they were like, well, what were you all really trying to say with this movie? This idea that there's a satanic worship and sacrifice of kids. I mean, trafficking is enough for most people, and I understand.
Right.
The concept of people sacrificing kids, drinking their blood, eating their body parts, or anything related to that is so abhorrent. And I have to tell you, Edgar and I both lost sleep. Mm-hmm. Both of us lost sleep 2 years ago that summer because it was just blow by blow by blow. The people in Hollywood, though, there are people that know this is all going on. And I don't think that those people were warning us not to do it. I think there were people who know others and have heard the rumors, and they didn't want their reputations dragged through this by being associated in any which way, having their name on it, or being even brought to the premiere, because there would be pictures taken, it could be posted online, and then people would know that they were there, and the implications of that in this kind of industry. Any acknowledgement of that mm-hmm. issue in Hollywood, especially pedophilia, is you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it, and if you talk about it, you only talk about what's already happened, and that's already been taken care of, and it's over with.
Well, and it's kind of the way they're handling the Me Too thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's hypocrisy on parade, right? And denial on parade. Same thing, right?
It is the same thing, and the most recent case, and I'll just point your audience to this, look up Michael Weatherly and Alicia Dushku's settlement, $9.5 million in a mediated, not legislated or litigated, right. Mediated settlement, so that she basically got the salary that she would have earned had she stayed on the show. But the issue is that this guy was making rape van jokes, he was making sexual suggestive, jokes, and says that he was horrified by the reaction that it caused her, and he immediately stopped. That's BS. The fact of the matter is that CBS just renewed Michael Weatherly's show for a third season, and came out in defense of those allegations and saying, you know what, and this is not a direct quote, but it's pretty damn close, saying, quote, Michael's very popular among the audience that tunes in. Yes, we're aware of the allegations, but the show is doing so well and the ratings and the money is so good that we can't cancel it.
And it's all about the greenbacks, right? Yeah.
Absolutely is. And I saw another case with Kip Perdue and another lady in the LA Times several months ago. She had to talk to everybody for 6 months before anything could get done. So they are just making everything go away as much as they can with the pretense that, we're doing something, Hollywood is cleaning up, look, it's actually virtuous, we're getting rid of the racism, we're bringing in more diverse faces. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors. And I don't put this on the performers, because they're helpless.
Right. They're pawns. They're pawns.
They're works for hire, and they're not some mastermind, or whether you want to believe they're mind controlled or not, it doesn't matter. They're victims. They are players in this system, and they have to go along with it. They have agents, managers, all these different people telling them what they need to do, and they follow it, and they get a check for it, and that's it. And so if you're going to take them on as a performer, you're done. You can forget it. That's why all of this litigation has been so slow with Nickelodeon and Dan Schneider.
Right.
There are names of people who are coming out. They are they're lawyering up. This has already been in play for months, just to bring out the fact that this person was hired and brought in, and there was actual documented evidence of what that person did, and the network turned a blind eye. Disney turned a blind eye, Nickelodeon turned a blind eye for decades and allowed this guy free reign to do whatever he wanted to. And he's tied in with Epstein as well as Disney. So it's a crazy time, but all of this is going to come out one way or the other because there's too much out in the public and there's too many eyes on it, and no one is going to just be fine with it being, okay, we got the guy and now it's over. Everybody's going to keep digging. Mm-hmm. Every time there's a major event coming out, everybody's going to keep digging and they're not going to stop.
Well, you pointed out something earlier with me that the movie, if you track its views, right?
Yep.
The Child's Voice moving up. I mean, a really steep incline, viewership. And then all of a sudden when Epstein was arrested, now one would think with that arrest it would have gone vertical as far as interest. Yes. Well, it did kind of go vertical, but not up, but down. Educate our listeners on this because this is fascinating. It just shows how this can be manipulated. Yeah,
so we have 6 films on Amazon, right? And we've been tracking. This has been going on for years. As we release new movies, we put them on Amazon among other platforms. All of our movies, all of them, old and new, have been on an upward trajectory of minutes streamed without any promotion for months. And we're seeing this internationally as well. So our movies we have a high interest. A Child's Voice, though, over the last several months had been going up in a massive direction, not just like up a little bit. It was riding a higher 10,000 gains. When Epstein's news broke, it went down to less than 3,000 per week, and it has been on a downward trajectory to almost 3 digits now of minutes watched per week on Amazon in the United States. All of our other films have continued to rise. And more people today are watching the film than ever before because we get inundated on Twitter now, on YouTube. I get private DMs. I get more emails today than ever before. And people thanking us for making the movie. And at the end of the day, it just tells you that they are so scared of anybody learning anything about this and asking questions that they have to either throttle it down, hide it from searches, make it so that it's not recommended, just like they do with YouTube.
Right.
And this is the thing. This is how they play it. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody at Amazon, but it is very suspicious to me when I'm watching every single one of our movies just cruising along, going up, the revenue's coming in, and all of a sudden Child's Voice just almost like a straight line that week that Epstein was arrested. It just went down like that.
Yeah, that's not coincidence. So, John Paul, you are in obviously the movie business, but the storytelling business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the story of Jeffrey Epstein's death. So, when any of us would speak about Epstein, we were all conspiracy theorists. This guy was a one-off guy. You guys are crazy saying that he was behind a network. You were crazy behind saying the CIA, Mossad, British MI6 was behind him. Intelligence agencies were. This is conspiracy. This is craziness. You're right. Well, we actually weren't crazy. We were actually, maybe it was conspiracy, but it was conspiracy, reality, and fact. And we had the courage to step forward. You folks, what you and Edgar did in Hollywood, what we've done here, a number of other folks in the independent media have done. But you're in the story business. And right now where we are with the story is pretty confusing for people, right? About what happened. What. So you being in the story business and in the movie business where you can make things look a certain way when in reality it's actually a different way. What do you make of he died, let's say, he left us in some way, shape, or form, depending on who you want to put, what basket you want to put your eggs in on Saturday, August 10th, the morning of August 10th. Being a story person in the story business, what do you make of this?
Well, whenever there is conflicting narratives there's confusion, there's a problem. And that's true of any film that can't communicate its own idea and be self-evident in terms of what you're supposed to, not in a propaganda sense, but in a way of eliciting an emotion that is based on belief. And when you tell a story, you tell a story that is self-evident. It actually adds and subtracts equally, both forwards and backwards. So that just at a base level, if you're going to create a narrative around suicide, there has to be 1, 2, 3 clear examples that all of it lines up to be true, right?
Right.
You cannot have other details that conflict with that or cause it to raise even larger questions, because you have to then answer that question that would satisfy both of those things being true, right?
Right.
So it's an equation. It's a whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mystery. But if I look at the motivations, aside from him being a narcissist, and many people like Steve Pieczenik and others who have said narcissists typically of his level are not the kind to kill themselves, to off themselves.
That's true.
Right.
Right.
Right. But that alone, with the details that came out immediately, that he had hung himself in this maximum security prison,
right,
where we had housed El Chapo,
mm-hmm,
Keith Raniere, and many other people, that the idea that they didn't know that this guy, I mean, this is the crazy part, having been on suicide watch supposedly for having almost killed himself before, now we get this other story that there was somebody who may have tried to kill him before, and so now you have two realities emerging, and and what everybody is focusing on is that, okay, everybody knows that the odds of him killing himself are almost zero, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of, if you have this other evidence out here that's saying, well, it could have been something else, right? Then it doesn't answer this. So this is gone, as far as I'm concerned, because that story doesn't add up any which way in terms of with all the other pieces of information. So the question is, what's true? And the side of this that's very interesting is when they're talking about, like what you brought. I watched both parts of your part 1, part 2, which I recommend everybody do, because from the medical side alone, that raises even larger questions as to, well, if the body was dead, why did they insert the tube in order to get, air going into the, or what were they trying to do with that tube?
Right.
So it doesn't add up. So to me, I'm looking at like people like Pieczenik and others who have said that whatever was done, they believe that somebody went in, did the job, whatever the job was, and they didn't care. They were the reason for doing the job was that was the only play that they had, and they didn't care. They just had to be brutal and fast with it, and it didn't matter what the story was going to be told. They were going to let whoever was going to tell it clean it up, right? Mm-hmm. Department of Justice has to go in and do an investigation now to assemble facts. The press is either through anonymous sources is learning that this prison guard was sleeping or didn't fake the records. You've got a warden now that's on leave. There's possible ties to the Clintons, all of this stuff. And it's like they're going to have to sort it out and come out with a definitive narrative that cleans up both the allegations of suicide and the allegations of a hit being done on this guy, one way or the other. And you raised a very good point in one of your videos, like the cellmate was transferred out, what, an hour, 2 hours before, the day before?
Yeah, the same day, the same night, yeah.
Same day, and then the cameras go off.
Right.
Right, then the cameras supposedly malfunction.
Right.
And during that 2 to 3 hour window is when all hell broke loose, and they heard screams, and it's like, but it's not consistent. None of the story is consistent.
It is not consistent. It's consistently inconsistent.
Yes.
Right? Which always, when it's consistent, all my buddies in law enforcement, when something is consistently inconsistent, here's what they tell me. The public is being played.